Hi everybody, Andrew here. WrestleMania is tomorrow, as everybody knows, so I've decided to put together my predictions of what I think the WWE is going to book versus how I would book it personally. We're going to be doing these matches in no particular order, although I feel like I am going to be building up towards the main events at the same time. We're going to start with the Revival versus Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. This was a last-minute thrown together tag match for the Raw Tag Team titles. Some of you may know Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder are from the New York area, so I think that adds a little something to it. But at the end of the day, if I was booking this personally, I would definitely be booking the Revival to win this. They need a win right now, otherwise it's really going to cheapen them as a tag team, which is something that sadly has been going on for too long. Don't get me wrong, I'm a New York guy myself, and I absolutely love Ryder, and Hawkins deserves that win. But that brings me to what I think the WWE is going to do. I think they're going to use this to pump the crowd very early on. Even though the WrestleMania crowd is typically a worldwide crowd, I do feel like they're going to see it as the New York crowd, even though this takes place in New Jersey. And I think they are going to give Hawkins and Ryder the win. So that's what I think is going to happen there. Moving on to Buddy Murphy versus Tony Nese for the Cruiserweight Championship. I'm not going to lie, I really don't watch this program, the 205 Live. I've heard great things. I've seen great things from the little stuff that I have seen. But at the same time, I really don't have much of my own input here. However, I do know that Buddy Murphy has been champion for quite a while, and I actually think he's going to continue on forward through this event as champion. So how I book it and how I think the WWE is going to book it is that Buddy Murphy is going to still be your Cruiserweight champion at the end of WrestleMania. Um, Moving on to the Women's Battle Royal. The Battle Royals in general, since they started doing them with the Andre the Giant one first and then adding the Women's one second, have always gone to kind of strange people that you weren't truly expecting it to be. Just look at Mojo Rawley last year for a perfect example of that. That being said, as much as, and this, let me actually skip around a little bit. I'm going to say how I think they're going to book it. I think they're going to give it to Asuka, who sadly had to drop the SmackDown Championship recently, and I think this is going to be a little, hey, but we still care about you kind of moment. And that's a very good way to book it. I don't blame that. I'm not going to be surprised at all, and I think it's a good idea. But personally, I think the one person that could use it even more than her could be Ruby Riott. So if I was booking this personally, it would be Ruby Riott getting the nod, but I think it's going to be Asuka taking this one. Over on the men's side, the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, we've got a whole bunch of names involved, as everyone knows, but Braun Strowman seems to be the top guy at the moment. There is a little bit of side booking with the SNL guys. I might be saying these wrong, but Michael Shea and Colin Jost. How I think this is going to go down, and this is both of my bookings for this, how I think versus how I think they'll do it, is that it's going to be Braun Strowman. And I think the way it's going to end is it's going to be him and the two SNL guys, and they're going to realize they're both in the ring with him, and he's going to pick up one of them and throw him onto a group of wrestlers that are on the outside of the ring on one side. He's going to pick up the other, do the same thing on the other side of the ring, and that's how he's going to win it. The wrestlers will be able to pad the fall, they'll knock down, and do that like slow fall down. And I think that's how this is going to be booked. So either way you look at it, I really do think it's going to be Braun Strowman on this one. Next, we have the SmackDown Tag Titles, the Usos versus Ricochet and Aleister Black versus The Bar, who versus Cesaro and Sheamus, versus Nakamura and Rusev. So it's a four-way tag title match. I think the Usos are going to retain. I also think the WWE is going to be booking it that way. The only difference that I would say is that I would book it so that Sheamus could eat the pinfall. However, I do think, unfortunately, the way he's always booked, I feel like Rusev's going to be the one that ends up looking at the lights. Up next, we have the women's tag team match. We have Bayley and Sasha, the champions, versus Beth Phoenix and Natalya, versus the Iconics, Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, versus Nia Jax and Tamina. I honestly think this is one more match that it's going to be the same exact way. I think it's going to be Bayley and Sasha, the Iconics eating the pinfall, and I feel like either way you look at it, that's how it's going to be. Moving down the list, I'm going to go through a couple of ones that I feel like we're all on the same page for. Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. I think welcome back, Reigns. Congratulations on beating cancer. That's awesome. And I think that this is just going to be an introductory match for him to return. He's going to win. I feel like they're going to book it the same exact way. I'd be very surprised otherwise. As a small note, I do think it would be kind of interesting if he did lose his first match against McIntyre. I think it could be an interesting storyline if they went with, wait, does he still have it? Maybe he's not where he used to be. But at the end of the day, let's just be honest, Reigns is winning. We then have Bobby Lashley versus Demon Finn Balor. And the second they said that he's going to be Demon Finn Balor, it made it obvious Finn Balor is going to be your new Intercontinental Champion. I'm not going to say too much on that because I think we're all on the same page there. Moving down to Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio. Honestly, this one I was going to give to Samoa Joe no matter what, but now that I'm hearing that Rey Mysterio might be injured, I think it makes it even more obvious that Samoa Joe is going to be going over. Under the assumption that Rey is able to compete, my belief is that Samoa Joe is going to win a dominating match to look good. Rey Mysterio is injured. You don't want him in the ring for too long. Let this be a very quick match that makes Samoa Joe look strong for whatever his next program may be. How I think they'll book it is very similar. I do think it's still going to be a quick match, but I think Rey's son's going to accidentally cost Rey the match, whether it's that he gets involved and Samoa Joe threatens him, or he accidentally trips up Rey at some point. Either way, I don't think this match is going to go longer than 10 minutes, and if he is injured, I hope he gets better soon. Moving on to AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. This is one where I actually differ from WWE booking. WWE booking, Orton's going over. His WrestleMania resume is fantastic, and I feel like I'm not going to be surprised one bit if I see him going over at WrestleMania this year. That being said, I would personally book it Styles going over. I feel like Styles at this point has more to offer the company, but at the same time, Orton has given a lot to the company. So, again, I'm really 50-50 on this one. So, the way that I book it versus how I think they book it, I'm not going to be surprised no matter who ends up winning that match. Shane McMahon versus The Miz in a Falls Count Anywhere match. So I booked this. I put down Miz wins and hopefully Shane stops wrestling. I stand behind that. But I think they're going to book this that Shane's going to win with the help of somebody. A little part of me is kind of hoping for a little Mean Street Posse. But the reality is I think it's going to be whoever Miz's next program is. I feel like that's going to be who interrupts on Shane's behalf and takes down the Miz. And whoever that person is, I honestly don't know who. But whoever that is, they raise up Shane McMahon's hand at the end. You need a couple of heels winning on the show, and I think this is going to be one of them. As far as the Kurt Angle Baron Corbin match, Kurt Angle's retirement match, I think how I would book this personally is that Angle would win with a surprise roll-up. It wouldn't be a very long match, but at the same time, it wouldn't be incredibly short. But he's going to get attacked by Corbin afterwards. I imagine Cena is coming out at some point in the show, so this is where I've placed him. So he gets attacked. Cena comes out for the save. The two of them celebrate in the ring. How I think they're going to book it is either that, what I just said, or that Corbin's intentionally going to get himself disqualified, determined to just destroy Kurt Angle on his way out of the company, and Cena still makes the save. So either way, I think John Cena is going to come out for the save and end up raising Kurt Angle's hand at the end of this. Moving right along to the Triple H versus Batista match. It's a no-holds-bar match, and if Triple H loses, he must retire from in-ring competition. How I would book this one, very simply, is I'd actually have Ric Flair cost Triple H the match. And it turns out it was all a ruse to get Triple H to retire. I feel like there's a lot that they can book with that, and let's just be honest, retirements in wrestling usually don't mean too much. So if he really wants to start wrestling again, he always could. But he would have done so while losing the faith of two of his best friends before him, or trust, or whatever you want to call it. How I think they're going to book this is that Triple H is just going to go over, plain and simple. With the Saudi Arabia shows and everything else where there's really big money right now, it doesn't make sense for him to be saying that he's no longer going to be wrestling. So I do believe he's going to win as far as how they book it. Before we go into the three main title matches, just a couple of side notes that I want to go over. I do feel that Alexa Bliss, as the host, is going to be kind of ineffectual. The only thing I could really see her doing outside of just announcing things here and there, maybe a backstage segment, is if Mysterio is unable to compete, she comes out and tells Samoa Joe who his new opponent is. Outside of that, I really can't see her doing much. I don't see it being like New Day a couple of years ago, where they came out and they introduced the Hardys, or maybe that was just last year. Maybe it was 2 years ago. But anyway, I don't think she's going to be doing anything to that degree. I think it's going to be very cold cut. Just, she comes, says a few things, welcome to WrestleMania, and that's that. As far as the Elias concert goes, this is where, if Cena's not going out during the Angle match, I think he's going to come out here. But more realistically, I think Undertaker's going to be the one to interrupt him. No matter what, somebody's definitely interrupting this. It's kind of the whole Elias gimmick at this point, is that he gets interrupted while doing his music. So I can see it now. The lights are down, just the spotlight on him. The spotlight itself goes down. The lights turn purple. Undertaker's in the ring. Choke slam, tombstone. And that's that. I don't think he's going to get a 5-10 minute long entrance or anything like that. I think it's going to be a quick bada bing, bada boom, and they're out. So then we move right into the 3 title matches, the 3 main ones. We have the Seth Rollins versus Lesnar, Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston, Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch. And I bring up all 3 of these at the same time because they kind of have similar storylines in that they are fan favorites that everybody thinks is going to go over. And when you have 3 of those, at least one of them is not going to happen. If you asked me who this was going to be 2 months ago, I would not have said Seth Rollins. But with Roman Reigns back, I have to say that Rollins is going to be the one that probably is not is not winning his matchup. So we'll start with him and say Seth Rollins versus Lesnar for the WWE Universal Championship. I'm booking it with Lesnar over, and I think that's how they're booking it too. But I do think that he's going to be losing that belt soon. I think with Roman Reigns cleared to wrestle again, I think they're going to resume their program. I wouldn't even be surprised if they decide to spark the Monday Night Raw crowd the day after WrestleMania with a title win. But I don't think it's going to happen at WrestleMania. Moving right along to Daniel Bryan versus Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship. It's got to be Kofi, right? I mean, like the promos have been saying, 11 years. He had his almost moment years back when he got into the feud with Randy Orton, and we started to see a little bit of fire from him then. But I think if they're not going to give it to him now, he's just never going to get it. And I don't want to think that that's how they're going about things. So both how I'd book it and how I think they're going to book it is that Kofi Kingston's going to go over. It's a shame because, Daniel Bryan has been doing this great gimmick lately, and that belt is fantastic. I almost hope that Kofi Kingston keeps that belt, although I'm worried he's going to make it look like a pancake or something. But no, I think at the end of the day, Kofi Kingston has to win this match, and that's that. And another match that I feel like everybody's on the same page for on who has to win is the Rousey, Flair, and Lynch match. This is the first women's match to ever headline a WrestleMania. Before I go into things, I have to say, I don't really envy these girls because of that. You're going to have about 6-7 hours of wrestling before their match starts, and I'm hoping the fans are not burned out. I don't want the WWE to underplay everything beforehand, but at the same time, I'm hoping it doesn't turn into, when The Rock faced Hulk Hogan, and then everyone was dead for the main event. I'm really hoping that that's not the case. I'm hoping it's more like when Daniel Bryan, Batista, and Orton tore the house down a few years back, and the crowd went crazy for it. Because these women deserve that. They've been busting their rear ends for a very long time. Rousey, give her credit for only being in the company a year. She's made herself believable. She's not been too great on the mic, but this second everything's ready to go down the ring, she's ready to go. With that being said, I think we're all on the same page here. I think Lynch has to win this match. I think they're going to book it that way, and that's how I would be booking it also. A spot that I could see winning that match, and I've been telling a couple of friends about this, is I could see Lynch being on the outside. Maybe she gets thrown through a table, maybe she gets thrown to the barricade, or something along those lines. And Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey, they're fighting in the ring. Flair can get Rousey into the figure 4 leg lock, complete the bridge over. And that's when Lynch can come back in the ring, kick out her arms from out beneath her, so they're back into a basic figure four, flip them over, which, changes over the pressure, so now the pressure's on Charlotte Flair's legs, and they put Rousey in the disarmer at the same time, causing them to both tap out, Flair from the torque on her legs, and Rousey obviously from being in the disarmer. Originally, I did think that I always thought it was going to be Lynch, but the original thing I thought they were going to do once Flair won the SmackDown title before they made it winner takes all was I thought they were going to finish this pay-per-view with the four horsewomen celebrating in the ring together. Flair as the SmackDown Championship, which at the time was not on the line. Lynch as the Raw Championship, which obviously would have just have won, and then Sasha and Bayley having held on to the championships. Now with Flair being in this match and losing her title, I don't see that still being the case. So I'm hoping they at least go with the face closing out the pay-per-view holding the titles. So those are my beliefs. Those are my predictions. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. So leave a comment down below. If this goes over kind of well, then I'll do a review when the pay-per-view is all said and done. Looking forward to the Monday Night Raw. It's my personal favorite Raw of the year. So if you guys have anything to say, do something down below. Hope you guys enjoyed this. All right, goodbye.